Hello, this is Joel Evans. Welcome to our presentation on devising your best self-brand. We hope that this will be valuable to you, and this is the first video in a two-part series that we have. We explain the process here, and in our second video we give a lot more examples and applications. Thanks for watching. Like you, I have many personas, both professional and personal. For each one, I am perceived differently. I am a professor, an author, a consultant, a volunteer, a husband, a father, and a friend. In this presentation, we focus on the professional persona, and we outline the steps needed to devise our best self-brand. One of the earliest practitioners of self-branding was Walt Disney. We know him today for his theme parks, for his animated films, TV network, etc. But when Walt started out, he was a cartoonist, and as it says here, he did comic cartoons, advertising cartoons, animated motion picture cartoons. So this is how he wanted to present himself, and this is actually drawn by him. In our career, we have a lot of options. When we're new to our career, we have a tremendous amount of options because we have more of a blank slate. But even as we move on in our career, we have several different choices. So what is self-branding? Importantly, the first career-related activity you should embark on is properly projecting your self-brand. Then every other career-related activity you undertake should flow from this one. Our definition: self-branding reflects how we want to be perceived by employers, potential employers, peers, and others. Self-branding occurs when an individual develops and markets him or herself in the same manner as a brand of product would be marketed. So we're communicating our brand to others and hoping that they react favorably to it. There's an old saying about if you love what you do, you'll always be good at it. And this illustration kind of highlights that. As you think about yourself and your self-brand, we have to think about the attributes that we want to put forward. And as we see here, there are a lot of different possibilities for us that we can explore and that we communicate to others. To guide this presentation, we show our basic process for properly devising your self-brand. In our self-branding process, we include 7 steps. In addition, there should always be a feedback loop. On an ongoing basis, review your self-brand and fine-tune it as necessary. Here are the 7 steps that we have in our process, and as it says, the dashed line represents that there's feedback among the steps. So first, articulate the self-brand you perceive for yourself. How do you see you? Two, how to determine how others perceive your self-brand. You see yourself one way, how do they see you? Do a current strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats analysis. What are your strengths and weaknesses, and what are the opportunities and threats that you face in your career path? 4, identify the areas you need to improve upon. 5, state your ideal future-oriented self-brand. So as you look towards the future, how would you like potential employers and colleagues to view you? 6, very importantly, we need to match our self-brand to career and job opportunities. We have to make sure that we are a good fit to the opportunities that are available. And 7, we need to communicate our updated self-brand to potential employers, to colleagues, to friends, to possible recommendations, everyone that we can think of, and we need it to be consistent across all media that we use. So, step 1, articulate the self-brand you perceive for yourself. Honestly state to yourself the self-brand features that you believe you possess. Is your perception realistic? Write down your perception of your self-brand. Try to do this in 25 words or less. What makes you you? What makes your self-brand you? Regardless of age, regardless of position, regardless of the business we happen to be in, all of us need to understand the importance of branding. We are CEOs of our own companies, Me Inc. To be in business today, our most important job is to be head marketer for the brand called you. And this is a quote from Tom Peters, a very famous consultant and analyst. Some of the ways marketing people look at each other or themselves. I'm a marketer. I blog about marketing. I have a podcast about marketing bloggers. I tweet about podcasters that talk about marketing bloggers. I have a Facebook group for Twitter users that tweet about podcasters that talk about marketing bloggers. In reality, we probably don't need to be as specific as this. It may limit our opportunities. Step 2, determine how others perceive your self-brand. Informally talk to friends, peers, professors, etc. Learn how they perceive you. Most likely, they will see at least some of your attributes differently than you see them. This is a great learning opportunity. You will need to reconcile how you see yourself versus how others see you. So we see here in this little chart that there's not as much overlap as we should have with regard to how we see ourselves and how others perceive us. So this is making friends in social media. So LinkedIn, Mike, let's be friends. Please submit your resume, 2 letters of recommendation, and a blood sample. Mike, let's be friends on Facebook. Sure, you and I are both friends with Mark. Let's connect. Twitter, Mike, let's be friends. I am Mike's robot. Your request for friendship has been auto-approved. This is just an attempt to inject some humor in an otherwise serious presentation. Step 3, do a current SWOT analysis. Strengths, what are your best attributes? Be clear. What are your biggest weaknesses? Think about first identifying and then improving these factors. Opportunities, the industries, career paths, and firms that will grow in the future. Threats, the economy, global health, regulations, industries, etc., that will negatively affect your future. It is important for us to do research, to be aware, to talk to others, not to just act on our gut, but to get as much information as we can in doing our SWOT analysis, both our internal strengths and weaknesses and the external opportunities and threats. Step 4, identify areas you need to improve upon. No matter who we are, we have areas to improve upon. That is why SWOT analysis is so vital. If we know what we need to improve, we can do so. If we don't know, how can we improve? So can we pinpoint the areas that we need to strengthen? Do we know our weaknesses? And we need to enhance our skill set accordingly. So know what our weaknesses are and think about what we can do to improve them. So this is a pretty big leap from where a person is to the job that they want to acquire. What we want to do is try to reduce that gap so that we're not flying through the air to reach it. So number 5, state your ideal future-oriented self-brand. This stage is aspirational. As we look to the future, how we like to be perceived. And this vision changes over time and through different career stages. So looking at where I am today, Where would I like to be in the future? And what's realistic for me in the future? What am I going to need to do to get to that point? But what's the ideal as I look down the road? As this saying from Jay Wren is, you don't have to do everything for success, but you have to do the right things. And you have to do the right things right. Number 6, match your self-brand to career and job opportunities. We should see how our self-brand aligns with career job opportunities. 3 scenarios are possible. 1, we believe our self-brand is already aligned to the marketplace, so we're pretty content with ourselves and how we project. 2, we believe we believe our self-brand only requires tweaking to be aligned to the marketplace. So we recognize that we've got some areas of weakness, but they're not so big that we are going to require a large overhaul of ourselves. And third, we realize our current self-brand is poorly aligned to the marketplace. So maybe our job is one of those that's predicted to decline in the future, or the industry is predicted to decline. Okay, the third scenario means repositioning our self-brand. So we have to think differently and be seen differently. So we probably want to be perceived as having an inspiration, a vision, being motivated, being innovative, being a leader, and being involved with teamwork. All of these are indicators of success. Number 7, communicate your updated self-brand. Use as many communication channels as possible. Don't just use LinkedIn, for example. 2 keys here. Complete the first 6 steps first. So don't go out and communicate your brand until you've gone through the first 6 steps of this process and have done an overhaul. And secondly, sync your self-brand across all the channels you use. That means constant monitoring. So if I go to your Instagram account, I go to your Facebook account, I go to LinkedIn, I go to Twitter, all of these should reflect the same image of you. There should be no disconnect. So here we have all of these pieces where we're the same. We have all of our communication formats to various people that are consistent and integrated with one another. And our last step is the feedback loop. We need to regularly reassess our self-brand. At least annually, we should reassess. We should fine-tune it as necessary, but we should try as hard as possible not to constantly reposition, because that would be confusing and it would show that we really have no goals and real self-brand that's consistent over time. So it's very important to tweak, but not to overhaul unless we're thinking of switching careers or jobs. And one of the misconceptions that people have about feedback is that they can't get it. Well, that's not true. As it says here, if you need interview feedback, sometimes all you need to do is ask for it. So that really pertains to any activity that we're involved in. We need to find out what it is that people think of how we're doing. So just a brief recap. Now that we have taken a brief look at the self-branding process, we are ready to apply the concepts. Also look at our companion video on presenting your best self-brand. As it says here, you got this. It's up to you to go through the steps in this process and become the best you possible and project the best you possible, but you can do it. Thank you. Bye. And keep on going.